Philadelphia Eagles going to hit the road to take on the New York Jets in Week 6, and going into this game at MetLife Stadium, I have some burning questions and some pressing questions hovering around this organization right now as they are 5-0. One of two teams in the NFL still undefeated a month and change into the regular season. First, though, make sure you join us for our watch party. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications. Therefore, when we go live or anytime we push out a show, you'll be notified. Eagles, Jets, our pregame show starts right before kickoff at 4 o'clock Eastern. You don't want to miss it. Can't wait to see you. Let's start off with this as far as my burning questions go. Is Jalen Carter the Defensive Rookie of the Year in the National Football League? I think right now he's unquestionably the leader to win that award. He's been having a great rookie campaign up to this point. He leads all defensive tackles in the NFL, not just rookie defensive tackles, in quarterback pressures with 25. That is one more than Aaron Donald. And his playing style, physicality, athleticism really does replicate an Aaron Donald type of player. I still can't believe that the Eagles were able to get him at number 9 as he fell in the lap of Howie Roseman. More in-depth numbers for Jalen Carter here. It's crazy what he's been doing throughout the first 5 games of the season. The first Eagles rookie defensive tackle since Corey Simon to have 2 sacks in a game. The most sacks, by the way, for a rookie defensive tackle in franchise history, 9 by Corey Simon after he was drafted by the Birds in the early 2000s. Jalen Carter also leads the Eagles in sacks with 3.5, and he has 4 tackles for loss and 4 quarterback hits on top of all of the pressures that he's accumulated as he consistently is able to punish opposing offensive linemen and collapse the pocket by himself, even though he's demanding double teams and playing less than 50% of the snaps. It is absolutely historic what Jalen Carter is doing right now. Nick Sirianni understands that he has a very good player on this roster who has a boatload of potential. First of all, phenomenal player, Sirianni said, who works really hard to continue to get better, and that's been a phenomenal player through the first 5 weeks, right? And so he's just got to keep doing it. We saw that he was phenomenal in college, and he's had a great first 5 weeks. We have high hopes for Jalen Carter. I have high hopes for Jalen Carter. Our boy losing hope during our last watch party. He was the winner of our Eagles jersey. He wants a Jalen Carter jersey. I'm closing in on maybe trying to secure one as well. And if you think that he's the Defensive Rookie of the Year, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Next burning question. Is A.J. Brown a top 5 wide receiver? In my estimation, in my eyes, he was last year, and this year, he's been even better his second year with Jalen Hurts as their continuity continues to be on display. Last 3 weeks for A.J., he's gone off for $130, 175, and 127. It's the best stretch for an Eagles wide receiver in 71 years over a 3-game span. Most receiving yards in 71 years over 3 games for A.J. Brown. He's been the 10th fastest player to surpass 5,000 receiving yards, so already he's making history in that regard, and he's 4th in the NFL in receiving yards right now at less than 1,500. I've always said this about A.J. Brown. He's the closest thing the Eagles have had to Terrell Owens at wide receiver since T.O. Big-bodied wide receiver whose size doesn't take away from his speed because he has that getaway speed. He has the stop and start ability. He can make you miss, but he's so physically dominant as well, either running you over or coming down with those 50-50 balls. What he's doing this year on top of last year, really, really unique and special dog. Next up, should the Eagles trade for a cornerback or a safety? That's the most pressing need or needs for this Eagles team going into Week 6. I love Reed Blankenship. I think he's an awesome player, and I think that he's a franchise building block for this team. And the fact that he's a UDFA, you're barely paying him anything to start his contract and over the next couple of years. The other safety spot is a concern. And then with Avonte Maddox being out, the Eagles have had to shuffle around who plays slot nickel corner. Bradley Roby played well, but because he played well and the Eagles struggled when James Bradberry was in the slot, I think Bradberry has to go to the outside. So the Eagles could be forced to make a move at corner. They could be forced to make a move at safety. And right now, there are 5 trade targets that I want to hone in on today's show here who I think could be notable and appealing for Philadelphia. And all of these teams here Broncos, Cardinals, and Giants figured to sell because, let's be honest, they're not good. Patrick Surtain is the eye candy, one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. Darius Slay thinks that he's the top corner in the NFL. Young player, cost-controlled asset who is a game changer on the outside with good anticipatory skills, length, height, is just a stud at that corner spot. We've talked a lot about Budda Baker. I love his versatility. He can play in the box, deep safety, slot corner. You can set him in on some blitz packages. I think that Sean Desai would be able to get really creative with him. Adoree Jackson, Xavier McKinney, if you want to make an in-division trade with your NFC East rival in the New York Giants, corner for Adoree Jackson, safety for Xavier McKinney. If they look to sell, not really a point in having those players on the team who are making a lot of money and on expiring contracts. I also want to spend a few moments talking about Justin Simmons here. I was talking to Matthew Peterson, host of our Broncos channel here at Chat Sports, and we were going through some players who the Eagles could target at safety and corner when I was putting together that list. He mentioned Justin Simmons, and I looked at him and I'm like, he sounds like a Philadelphia Eagle. He almost said the same exact thing to me when he uttered the words Justin Simmons. He's like, he's an Eagle, and he feels like an Eagle. You think about the pedigree that he has, the player that he is, and the prototype that the Eagles look for in a safety, on top of him being a good character player, he feels like a Philadelphia Eagle. Some background information on him. You make a deal for him, and the Broncos sign him to a kind of lofty extension a couple of years ago. He's 29 years old, 2016 third-round pick, a 3-time second-team All-Pro, all of those honors coming in the previous 3 seasons, 2022, 2021, and 2020. Last year, he was the interceptions co-leader with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and lastly, a Broncos team captain. He's been okay with Denver this year, but that defense has been putrid. You put him on this defense alongside Reed Blankenship with this defensive line, my goodness, he could be even better for this team and be a seamless locker room cultural fit. More to get to here on the show because I have plenty more burning questions because the think tank is always going on inside my brain. First, though, I want to challenge you in the comment section. Name this Eagle. Who is it? Drop those names down below in the comment section. We'll reveal who this Eagle is later on today's show. First, though, today's Eagles Now is sponsored by ZBiotics. You can get 15% off when you use the promo code CHATSPORTS. We're going to put that link, which is zbiotics.com/chatsports, in the comment section, as well as in the description of this video. I got to be honest, when we do some of these watch parties, I don't always bounce back well the next day. Well, that is until I found ZBiotics. What is it? A pre-alcohol probiotic, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking, and here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct and not dehydration that's to blame for your rough next day. How about the science behind a hangover? It's crazy. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break that byproduct down, and it's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it the most. So drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. This Halloween, you can pair your candy and cocktails with ZBiotics to avoid a spooky next morning. Head to zbiotics.com/chatsports. Scan the QR code on the screen right now to get that 15% off deal. That's zbiotics.com/chatsports. Use the code chatsports at checkout for 15% off. Thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's show. Once again, all of that information down below in the comment section. Next burning question. In the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, are the Eagles the most talented right now at the skill position spots? Running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. The Eagles are loaded with offensive talent. And there are 2 players who have really added a lot to this Eagles offense to start this year who can kind of compare, if you want to debate, if this Eagles offense is as scary and as talented as an offense from a few years ago. More on that in a moment. Scrimmage yards through 5 games this year. DeAndre Swift with 509. Now, that number is pretty wild because he only had 2 touches in week 1 against the New England Patriots. A.J. Brown, the last 3 weeks, he's been over 100 receiving yards, 541 receiving yards. It's the first time that 2 Eagles have had this amount of scrimmage yards since 2013. We throw it back about 10 years ago to Deshaun Jackson when he had 525 yards through 5 games, and LaShawn McCoy had 700 scrimmage yards in the first 5 games back in 2013. Those offenses were fun, and Chip Kelly for sending those pieces away for basically nothing and ruining what was a star-studded Eagles offense. So to answer that question, this might be one of the most talented Eagles offenses ever. Speaking of the talent on the offensive side of the ball for Philadelphia, can we see more Dallas Goedert? I hope so. I think that he can really help out the red zone woes for Philadelphia. He's just a big target inside the 20 who can either come down with that 50-50 ball and body up some smaller defensive backs, or you give it to him short of the goal line, he can pick up some yards after the catch. The Eagles got Goedert going against the Los Angeles Rams. Breakout game for him. And I thought that he unlocked a different dimension to this Eagles offense, and that's a big reason why this Eagles offense is so scary, because every single week they're hitting you with a different player. 9 targets against the Rams, 8 catches, $117, and a touchdown, and his girlfriend's clip went viral of her going nuts after he scored that touchdown. Next burning question. Chase, is Britton Covey really legit? Yes, he is. After a slow start to his NFL career in which he looked small, he's been one of the best punt returners since about week 12, week 13 of last year. Go off, Covey, with a 52-yard return against the Bucs, a 20-yarder against Washington, and another 20-yarder against the Rams on Sunday. Britton Covey became the first Eagle with a punt return of 20 yards or more in 3 straight games since Darren Sproles in 2014. Sproles had an 82-yarder in San Francisco, a 23-yarder against the Rams, a 43-yarder against the Giants, and Covey now leads the NFL with a 16.9 yards per punt return average on a minimum of 10 returns. So the numbers back up the fact that, yes, Britton Covey is legit. Next up, are the Eagles actually Super Bowl contenders, or is their 5-0 start to the season misleading? To me, the Eagles being 5-0 is no fluke. Philadelphia is a top 5 overall offense, and they still haven't played their A game, and their defense has shown a lot of signs of starting to click, especially with that pass rush. No Super Bowl hangover for the Eagles, too, has been mightily important to the Eagles' success so far this year. The Eagles are only the 6th team ever and the first in more than 3 decades to open up a season 5-0 after losing the previous year in the Super Bowl. The 1991 Bills won their first 5 games after losing to the Giants 20-19 the previous year. And the last team to start 6-0 after losing a Super Bowl, 1981 Eagles. So the Eagles could join themselves in the midst of their own franchise history if they beat the New York Jets to become the first team to lose a Super Bowl to go 6-0 the following year. We talked so much about how vital it was for the Eagles to get off to a fast start, given the tough middle portion of that Eagles schedule. That's what they're doing right now. And as DJ Khaled would say, all they do is win, win, win. Earlier on, I asked you to name this Eagle. Did you get it right? Who is it? Number 96, Clyde Simmons, who, funny enough, was a 9th-round pick back in the day when the NFL draft was not just 7 rounds. He is 3rd all-time in the history of the Eagles in sacks. Reggie White, number 1, Trent Cole, number 2, Clyde Simmons, number 3. And doesn't this get you excited for when the Eagles are going to debut those Kelly Green jerseys against the Miami Dolphins coming up? Cannot wait. And if you got that answer right, shout out to you.